They were gross, they were weird, they were named after your local crack dealer. MadBalls were an 80s phenomenon full of Nerf-like balls featuring gruesome faces and varying in all different types. Part of that fad in the early 80s were gross-out toys, cards, or anything that can make your mom scream or rage at the time was all the rage. And MadBalls were no different. They were riding that wave hard, but as many toys do, it was a fad and it quickly died out. But thanks to some nostalgia and some simple love by the fans and some of the coolness with these balls, they just kept coming back. In this video, I want to make a quick history of the MadBalls, one of the weirdest and coolest toy lines from my childhood. Let's get into this weird toy line. In the 1980s, a company called American Greetings, who were mostly known for their, let me guess it, greeting cards, had a division that worked on toy lines for the company. The division was actually surprisingly home to some many well-known brands like Strawberry Shortcake. But the company wanted to branch out, who at the time mainly did girls' toys, into the boys' market. Soon they found their answer. In 1985, a trading card series called Garbage Pail Kids was released, and this caused a huge explosion and also a lot of controversy. And soon the trend of disgusting and scary products were all the rage. Seeing the opportunity, American Greetings got their smaller division called Amtoy to make the product targeted for this market. Soon, a small team called Those Characters from Cleveland, legit name, after doing some research and getting results from a contest that was held where the kids would draw the grossest faces. And believe it or not, some of these designs would actually inspire the future MadBalls. And soon after months of development, finally in 1986, MadBalls was released, featuring that iconic first series, featuring Screamy Mimi, Skullface, Dustbrain, Oculus Orbis, and my favorite, Crackhead, Arg, Slobulus, and Hornhead. The toys were originally made of this Nerf-like rubber, despite the fact that in the first wave it was more of a harder substance of rubber. The toys featured many gruesome designs and really could not bounce, but they're mainly just for throwing and just a lot of fun that they were actually designed for. Despite the fun that the toy line generated, like Garbage Pail Kids, MadBalls created quite a stir when released. A citizen group called ADA complained that the toys were gross and offensive and children should not at all have them. Amtoy countered to the fact that children can actually still have gross toys, and if anything, they may show more of their personality and can get back at their parents with them, which I kind of agree with. Eventually, more complaints from people were heard and addressed by Amtoy. For one, in 1986, most schools had actually banned MadBalls, all because in Utah, a little girl was injured by a kid throwing a MadBall at her, causing injury due to the hard rubber. So, in response, Amtoy changed the hard rubber in the first wave to more of a softer-like substance, more like Nerf. The second big controversy was of the MadBall Crackhead, which many people at the time complained of by the name alone. Amtoy said that they didn't actually know the term was actually for people that were addicted to crack cocaine. So overall, not a good look, and they eventually changed the toy to Bash Brain, but still kind of an interesting controversy. Despite all the controversies, all of the MadBalls and their sales were still going strong, selling 6 million balls in between 1986 to 1988. And after the first series, there was a second series, featuring even more unique balls, with my personal favorite, Wolf Breath, being included along the bunch. Eventually, to branch out further in the line, a set of Super MadBalls were made, featuring more balls related to sports, like also a set of posable figures tapping into the action figure craze of the 80s, but with poppable heads that you can shoot out with MadBalls out of their bodies, or just swap them if you need be, was also released, and I think it's a super cool idea. Even other merchandise of MadBalls was created, like t-shirts, dispensers, and all of this eventually showed how the brand can grow and expand, and Amtoy definitely wanted to expand into other markets. But like many other toys in the 80s, they had to have something to go alongside it, like an animated series. And soon, MadBalls was no different, as 2 straight to VHS tapes were made. One featured an origin story for the MadBalls that had them on their home planet of Orb. The plot is basically that the MadBalls must escape from the evil Bad Balls who rule the planet, led by the evil Wolf Breath, who has basically banned everything including music, which apparently the MadBalls are passionate about. Eventually, though, the MadBalls escape and defeat the Bad Balls and now play music as long as they want on Earth. Also, Great Balls of Fire, I see what you did there, MadBalls, I see. For the most part, my opinion on it is it's a pretty good episode. It explains the MadBalls decently to viewers, and it feels like at least they added some story and structure to a pretty loose line as it is, even featuring an original MadBall called Freakiella. The second one was a straight-to-home release as well, which was called Gross Jokes, inspired by Monty Python and a comedic show. The premise is essentially it's some kind of comedy show hosted by Arg and Slobuous, featuring skits, and overall this one is much more of a mixed bag compared to the first one. Some of the jokes work, and some of them are just...
Slobulous, man. Like, what do you call that green stuff between King Kong's toes? I don't know. What? Slow MadBalls. Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
But as said before, these are still pretty rare to find VHSs and nice to add if you're a MadBalls collector. And hey, at least both are on YouTube and you can watch them for free. Eventually, even more merchandise was made, and this time around in the form of a comic book, which was published and ran for 10 issues and a special one-shot issue in 1988. It featured a pretty radically different origin story compared to the cartoon. This time around, the villain is Dr. Frankenbean. And basically the whole plot is he's trying to capture the MadBalls, which in this version, instead of aliens that they were in the cartoon, are actually just rubber balls that were transformed by toxic waste into the MadBalls. And or basically there's 8 different children from different homes trying to protect them. Yeah, it's a pretty weird plot. MadBalls also reached their hands into the video game market, which eventually culminated in 1988, a MadBalls game developed by Ocean Software, which came out on the ZX Spectrum, Amstrad CPC, and Commodore 64. So while all this merchandise and everything seemed to be going up, as everything does in life, some things must go down. And while all of this was great, sadly MadBalls was just a fad. It rose high, and Amtoy did their best to squeeze every dollar from the concept, but like many toys, it was a fad and kids moved on. And by 1988, Amtoy had officially retired the theme, and MadBalls lay dormant for a long time, collecting dust and nostalgia in people's heads. Until, surprisingly, MadBalls came back a few more times, and it seemed like fans bringing it back every once in a while as well with some customs. A company called Art Asylum in 2006 brought back the MadBalls featuring new and updated and more importantly, more gross designs. They released 2 waves of these MadBalls that featured many re-releases of classic MadBalls and some original characters, but sadly also the line got cancelled as well. Also in 2009, MadBalls and Babbo Invasion was released on the Xbox Live Arcade, which is actually one of those few things from my childhood I still remember. I may do a deeper dive into this game into the future, but personally I really enjoyed it. But of course it's kind of hard to access now since it's from the Xbox Live Arcade and it's kind of defunct by now. Furthermore, in 2017, animated shorts and videos were released by Just Play Inc., which also brought back the MadBalls again in more weird ways. They also re-released some of the classic MadBalls, which once again the line lasted until 2019 before it got scrapped. And finally in 2020, Premium DNA Toys released 6 in scale figures based on the poppable action figures from the original 80s line, which is all pretty cool stuff, and even though they have not continuing it anymore, still pretty cool. Overall, that was the quick history of MadBalls, a crazy line of fun, gross, and cool balls that were a staple of the 80s, and thanks to how fun they were, never really died out, always finding a way to ooze their way back into our lives. Overall, if you liked the video, please comment, subscribe, and thanks for watching.